Have you ever wondered what's most important in your life? We often get caught up in the whirlwind of life, work, relationships, and unintentionally forget about ourselves. We willingly sacrifice precious things just to please others, to avoid conflict, or to fit in with the crowd. But does that compromise truly bring happiness? Or are we gradually losing ourselves? You weren't born to live an ordinary life. You weren't born to compromise with what doesn't align with your true nature. Inside you is a tremendous power, a unique identity. But that power will be meaningless if you don't protect the things that make you who you are. I believe that everyone has their own unique identity, a flame of passion inside that needs to be nurtured and protected. If we constantly yield, accepting things that don't align with our values, it's as if we're stripping ourselves of our own identity. Therefore, let's explore together the things you should never sacrifice, the things that are at the core of who you are. Self-respect, a solid foundation. The first and most important thing is self-respect. Self-respect is respecting and properly valuing yourself, your worth, and your qualities. It's the foundation for all relationships, the compass for all decisions, and the source of strength to overcome any difficulty. When you lack self-respect, you easily accept injustices, insults, and disrespectful behavior. You might belittle yourself to please others, or accept toxic relationships for fear of loneliness. And the most dangerous thing is that you'll lose yourself. I remember a past relationship where my self-respect was gradually eroded. At first, they were just light criticisms, seemingly sincere remarks. The same phrases kept repeating, gradually embedding themselves in my subconscious. I tried to ignore them, but my self-doubt grew. I started to question every decision, withdraw, and lose confidence. One day, I no longer recognized myself. I lost the strong, confident version of myself and was replaced by someone full of doubt, fear, and dependency. The moment of realization was truly painful, but it was also the motivation for me to begin the journey of reclaiming my self-respect. This journey isn't easy. When you stand up for yourself, those who are used to your compromise will not like it. They will criticize you for changing, being difficult, even selfish. But the truth is, most people feel comfortable when you don't make them uncomfortable. When you set boundaries, reject injustices, and affirm your worth, you become a threat to their habits. Self-respect doesn't mean being unkind or not knowing how to compromise. It means you're willing to leave situations, relationships, or jobs that force you to sacrifice your values. Putting yourself first is not selfish. Society often praises sacrifice, but if pleasing others means betraying yourself, then it's self-destruction. When I decided to prioritize self-respect, everything changed. I became stronger, more grounded, and had control over my life. Relationships that held me back broke down, and in their place came people who cherished me. Self-respect is not just a choice, but a commitment to yourself. Respect yourself enough to walk away from anyone who doesn't respect you. Don't try to justify disrespect or bad behavior. Compassion is one thing, but allowing someone to treat you like a doormat is another. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of self-control and integrity. If you lose yourself in the expectations of others, you are letting them control your life unreasonably. Those who truly matter will respect the boundaries you set and appreciate your strength in protecting yourself. The harsh truth is that once self-respect is lost, everything else will begin to collapse as well. Self-confidence, dignity, purpose in life. So the next time you are asked to compromise on your self-respect, remember that no relationship, job, or friendship is worth sacrificing the core of who you are. Stand firm and let those who can't accept that reveal themselves. Dreams a guiding light. The second thing you should not trade away is your dreams. Dreams aren't just nice-to-haves, but sources of motivation and purpose in life. It's amazing how many people ask you to set them aside. They'll say, maybe it's time to be more realistic. Or, when are you going to grow up? As if dreams are only acceptable when they're small, when they're reasonable, enough to fit into the box that others have created. But the truth is, dreams aren't born to be in boxes, but to break them. I still remember the first time I shared a big dream of mine. They looked at me as if I had just said I was going to travel to Mars. They said, "Oh, so ambitious." That word ambitious haunted me for a long time. It wasn't a word of encouragement. I almost let it affect me, but the problem is, the people who advise you to give up your dreams won't live with the regret if you give them up. Dreams are not just goals, but a part of who you are, your passion, your vision of the life you want. Sacrificing your dreams for the comfort or approval of others is like extinguishing your own fire. If you do that for too long, you run the risk of losing that spark forever. Sometimes people will make you feel like pursuing your dreams is selfish, that you're neglecting your responsibilities, or not contributing to society. But think about it. Isn't the most responsible thing you can do is pursue your dreams? By following what you love, can you inspire others? Could you even create something that truly changes lives? How many people have given up their dreams and then complain about the good old days, wishing they had been brave enough to try? They will say they had reasons, a stable job, a family, practical issues. These are all things to consider, but it doesn't mean that you are sentenced for life. If you can't weave your dreams into your life, you run the risk of living a life that you feel doesn't belong to you. I'm not saying that you have to give up everything, unless that's exactly your dream. But if your dreams are smoldering somewhere in your heart, while life just passes by, ask yourself, why? Who said I have to wait? If you don't prioritize your dreams, who will? Dreams are part of what makes us feel alive. When you pursue them, no matter how crazy they may seem, you're not just chasing a fantasy, but also building a life that suits your true self. So next time someone says it's too unrealistic, just smile and say, maybe for you. Keep your dreams alive. Time, a priceless treasure. The third thing you should never sacrifice is your time. Time is the only thing you can't get back, yet we often give it away as if it were just loose change thrown around carelessly. Everyone wants a piece of your time. Friends, family, work, and even strangers who need your help just this once. But the truth is, your time is incredibly precious. Once it's gone, it can never be recovered. So why do we treat it like an endless resource? I used to be someone who was always willing to say yes to anything. But after a while, I started to realize I was exhausted, my spirit was defeated, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything that was truly meaningful to myself. My days were full of meaningless tasks, and the people I said yes to were rarely there when I needed them. People often expect you to be there when they need you, but how many people are actually there when you need them? It's as if there's an unwritten rule that your time is for others to use, while their time is inviolable. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against being generous and helping others when possible, but if you keep giving away your time to everyone, who will save some for your priorities? The biggest lesson I learned is that protecting your time isn't selfish, it's smart. If someone truly values you, they will respect your boundaries. When you say, "I'd love to help, but I have something I need to focus on," if they don't respect that, then they probably care more about what you can do for them than about you. I'm not saying you have to abandon everyone, but not every invitation, every request is worth a yes. If you keep pouring your energy into other people's plans, who will fill your own tank? There are only 24 hours in a day, and if most of that time is spent achieving other people's goals, you won't have time for the things that really matter to you. Being selfish with your time is actually one of the best things you can do for your relationships. When you prioritize what's truly important to you, you not only become happier, but also more present and energetic when you're around others. When you feel full, you won't feel depleted or resentful, and you can express yourself fully. Take a moment to think about where your time is going. Are you spending it on things that bring joy and fulfillment? Or are you giving it away like free samples, hoping for approval, gratitude, or just to avoid feeling guilty? You are not a free time buffet for others to take from at will. You have the right to say no, the right to protect your time, and you certainly have the right to put yourself first. Time is the most valuable asset you have. Spend it on things that truly matter to you. When you look back on your life, you won't remember the little things or the meaningless meetings. You will remember the moments when you did what you loved with people who respect your time. So protect your time, because once it's gone, it can never be recovered. Mental health, the foundation of everything. The fourth thing, your mental health. Mental health is the foundation of everything in life. Yet it's often the first thing we allow to be forgotten. You would never drive a car with an empty gas tank, yet we expect our minds to overcome fatigue, constant stress, and sleepless nights without any problems. But the truth is, without mental health, everything else becomes meaningless. No success, approval, or money can make up for an exhausted mind and a heavy heart. I learned this the hard way. I used to think that pushing through every difficulty, overworking, and staying up late was the way to solve things. I piled on responsibilities, took on more than I could handle, and said yes to people who probably didn't care about my health as much as I thought they did. I convinced myself that I could handle it, but the cracks soon appeared. I felt exhausted, lost interest in things that used to excite me, and woke up every morning feeling like I had just run a marathon. A friend recognized that I was no longer myself. I had become too tired, stressed, and just a shadow of myself. It was a wake-up call for me to start valuing my mental health. Mental health is not something you achieve by trying to endure. You don't need to fall off a cliff before you're allowed to prioritize it. Yet so many people treat it as if it's something you only need to address when you can no longer hide the internal struggle. But ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It only makes things worse. Think of it like ignoring your car's check engine light. You can pretend it doesn't exist for a while, but eventually something will happen. Others may try to tell you that taking time for yourself, rejecting pressure, or just disconnecting for a day is selfish and unnecessary. But they are not the ones living in your mind, and they are not the ones who suffer the consequences when you push yourself past your limits. Mental health boundaries are not about avoiding hard work, but about preserving what is most important, the peace of your mind. We live in a culture that glorifies hard work, constantly having to be on as if you're weak if you need some time to rest. But there's nothing to be proud of when you wake up every day with anxiety, go to sleep exhausted, and live in a vicious cycle that leaves you drained, unable to enjoy what you're working so hard for. There's a time for effort, but there's also a time for rest. Rest is not a weakness, it's a necessity. You'll never run on an empty battery, so don't expect your mind to be able to either. If someone tries to make you feel guilty for prioritizing your mental health, remember that you are not here to sacrifice your health for someone else's comfort. Set boundaries, rest when you need to, and don't feel like you have to explain. Because those who care about you will understand, and those who don't are not worth worrying about. A little self-care, setting boundaries, saying no when it doesn't feel right, is not selfishness, it's survival. And ultimately, mental health is not just about surviving, it's about thriving. Boundaries, a declaration of self. The fifth thing you shouldn't sacrifice is your boundaries. Boundaries aren't just invisible lines, but declarations of self-respect and sanity. Yet we often allow them to be forgotten just to keep others feeling comfortable. Sacrificing boundaries may help keep the peace temporarily, but in the long run, it erodes your sense of self, makes you feel used, exhausted, and resentful. Boundaries exist for a reason. They protect what's important to you. Ignoring them is like giving away parts of yourself until there's nothing left. I used to be someone who always said yes. If someone asked for help, I would say yes. An extra project, yes. Friends need a ride in the middle of the night, sure. I used to think that saying yes was an expression of loyalty, that it proved that I was reliable and caring. But after a while, I started to notice a pattern. The more I gave, the more people expected, and my boundaries became so blurred that I no longer remembered where I had stopped and where others had started. One day, I reached my breaking point. I had agreed to do one more thing, but the weight of everything I had taken on completely overwhelmed me. I had nothing left to give, but I kept trying. It was a wake-up call. Either I respected my boundaries, or I would continue living according to other people's desires. Boundaries may seem like limitations to some, but they are actually freedom. Freedom from constant pressure, freedom to rest, freedom to focus energy on things that truly matter. Good people, people who truly value you, will respect your boundaries. But there will always be people who want to test them, people who think they have a right to everything you have. Those people will take every opportunity to take more until you say enough. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're closing the door to everyone, but you are allowing the right people to enter. It's about creating space for things that are truly important so that you can give your best without feeling exhausted or resentful. Others may call it selfish or say you've changed, but often those are the people who benefit the most from your lack of boundaries. Those are the people who are happiest when you put yourself last. And that is not the standard for you to live by. Everyone's boundaries are different. Maybe you decide not to answer work emails after hours. Maybe you refuse to help a friend who only contacts you when they need something. Maybe you choose not to engage in conversations that drain your energy, or leave a relationship that makes you feel small. But whatever your boundaries are, they deserve to be respected. People will test you. They will try to push you to the limit. They will make you feel guilty and act as if your boundaries are just obstacles that need to be overcome. But the truth is, people who don't respect your boundaries don't respect you either. They respect what you do for them, the convenience you bring, and the endless resource you represent. True respect is about respecting someone's limits, even if it doesn't benefit you. It's about understanding that every relationship, every job, every commitment needs healthy boundaries to thrive. Over time, I have found that my best relationships are with people who understand my boundaries, who don't expect me to always be available, and who don't see each time I say no as a personal attack. They understand that my time and energy are limited, and that it's normal. They don't need to always have access to me to feel valued, and they don't rely on me to find their happiness. And when you start setting boundaries, you'll find that the people who appreciate you, the real you, will respect them as well. Setting boundaries is difficult. It requires courage, honesty, and sometimes a willingness to disappoint others. But you're not here to please everyone. You're here to live true to yourself, to live a life that respects your needs, your dreams, and your health. Those who truly care about you will understand that and will support you. Those who don't, let them go. Protect your boundaries fiercely because no one else will do it for you. You have the right to say no, the right to assert yourself, and the right to protect your time and energy. It's not about building walls, but about creating space for what truly matters. And ultimately, when you respect your boundaries, you are not only protecting yourself, but also creating a life where you can truly flourish. Financial independence, the foundation of freedom. The sixth thing you shouldn't sacrifice is your financial independence. Financial independence isn't just about money. It's about freedom, self-respect, and the ability to live life on your own terms. It's when you know you're not dependent on anyone's generosity or rules. But too often, We give up financial independence without even realizing it. Whether it's relying on a partner, depending too much on family, or continuing to work a low-paying job that doesn't value your worth, sacrificing financial independence can leave you trapped in a cycle of dependency and limit your ability to make decisions. I used to think that I didn't need to be in complete control of my finances, as long as I felt comfortable. I believed that as long as I had a loved one or family supporting me, I didn't have to worry too much. But over time, I began to notice the small ways in which a lack of financial independence was tying me down. Decisions that I should have made on my own suddenly required someone else's approval. I felt hesitant to pursue what I wanted, even when I had enough money, because I wasn't fully in control. It was honestly embarrassing to realize I didn't have complete self-control. Financial independence isn't about being selfish or not wanting to rely on others. It's about freedom. It's the freedom to make choices that are aligned with your goals, values, and dreams, without having to ask anyone's permission. When you are in control of your finances, you are less likely to compromise on things that are important to you. You are less likely to stay in toxic situations or sacrifice your values simply because you feel trapped financially. It's not uncommon to see people give up their financial independence in relationships, thinking that sharing the burden and completely depending on each other is a sign of trust. While sharing finances can be part of a healthy relationship, losing financial autonomy is another story. It can quickly lead to an imbalance of power, where one person's financial control dictates important decisions, from where you live to what you prioritize. When you're financially dependent on someone, you're putting your freedom in their hands, even if they have the best of intentions. And think of how many people continue to work in jobs they hate, stay in careers that don't bring them satisfaction, just for fear of losing financial stability. They may dream of changing direction, starting a business, or spending time pursuing something more meaningful, but the fear of losing their income keeps them where they are. That's why financial independence is so important. It allows you to leave situations that are no longer right for you without feeling like you're gambling everything. Achieving financial independence doesn't mean you have to be rich. It means you have control. It's about planning, saving, and making conscious decisions that align with your goals. It's about building a foundation so that if something happens, whether in a relationship, a job, or any other aspect, you have the ability to support yourself. When you have that independence, you can focus on what truly matters to you without worrying about financial instability. The biggest lesson I learned is that when you have financial independence, others can no longer manipulate or control you easily. You have the right to set boundaries, say no when it doesn't feel right, and pursue paths that bring you fulfillment. You don't have to endure toxic relationships or stay in compromising situations just because you're financially trapped. Achieving financial independence takes time and discipline. It means you have to learn to manage money wisely, say no to unnecessary spending, and invest in yourself in ways that help you build stability. But each step you take closer to that goal gives you a little more freedom, a little more self-control. It's worth every sacrifice because ultimately it allows you to be the architect of your own life. Don't let anyone convince you that giving up financial independence is a small price to pay for love, loyalty, or comfort. The reality is that when you sacrifice financial autonomy, you're often sacrificing more than just money. You're sacrificing freedom, the ability to make decisions, and your sense of self-reliance. Financial independence is about respecting yourself enough to ensure you can stand on your own 2 feet. Passion, the flame that warms the soul. The seventh and final thing is your passion. Passion is the flame that lights you up from within, the thing that makes you forget everything around you. It's the part of life that makes you feel alive. But in a world that always prioritizes practicality and expectations, people often quickly give up their passions, considering them childish dreams or not worth the effort. And this, really, is one of the saddest sacrifices we can make. Passion is fuel. It's the energy that drives you, the excitement that keeps you up at night, constantly learning and challenging yourself beyond what you thought possible. Without it, life becomes mechanical, a series of tasks and obligations that are really meaningless. But how many times do we hear things like, "I used to like that, but life," or "I no longer have time for it"? It's a silent surrender of a part of ourselves, and once it's lost, getting it back is incredibly difficult. When I was young, I had a passion that completely captivated me, writing stories. I could write for hours, creating worlds, characters, and plots that enriched my imagination. But then the real world came along, with demands and expectations for a good career. I gradually told myself I didn't have time for it. Writing was fun, but not important. I convinced myself that I could live without it, and instead focus on more useful things. But over time, I felt a growing emptiness, as if something very important was missing. I tried to fill it with other hobbies, but nothing could compare to the spark that writing gave me. Finally, I realized that giving up my passion wasn't just about sacrificing a hobby, but denying a basic part of who I was. So I made time, even if it was just a few hours a week, to write again. And the difference it made in my life was magical. That little spark, that feeling of connection with something I really loved, spread to every other area of my life, giving me a new source of energy and excitement. That's what many of us forget. Passion isn't something extra, it's a necessity. When you give up your passion, you lose what makes life vibrant. And no matter how many responsibilities we have, no matter how bound we feel by our obligations, there must always be a place for passion. Without it, we simply exist, but don't really live. There are those who may say that passion doesn't help you pay the bills, or that it's just a hobby. Focus on what's important. But the truth is, your passion is important, maybe more important than anything else. It's what keeps you curious, resilient, and alive. Giving it up for practicality or to please others is a mistake that will haunt you over time. Because in the end, no job, no money, no pursuit of practicality can replace the satisfaction and fulfillment that comes from doing the things that make your soul ignite. Passion is also contagious. When you pursue what you love, others will notice. You become more vibrant, attractive, interesting, and inspiring. People are often drawn to those who are lit up by life. You inspire others to delve deeper, to remember their passions, to step out of the monotony and discover what they truly love. And the ripple effect from someone living their passion can have a profound impact on the world. Of course, pursuing passion takes courage. It's not easy, especially when you feel like you should be doing something more conventional. Perhaps you have people around you who mock your interests, dismissing your passion as a waste of time. But the truth is, those people are not living your life. They don't experience the emptiness you feel when you deny yourself the things that truly matter. Only you know what lights you up, what gives you purpose, and what makes life worth living. And only you can choose to hold on to that. Sometimes that means saying no to obligations that drain you, avoiding people who don't understand you, or sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term joy. But if you're willing to protect your passion, to let it grow despite the noise, you'll find a deep sense of fulfillment, which no external recognition can replace. Passion is a lifelong companion, and it's worth every effort you make to nurture it. So don't let anyone convince you that passion is a choice. Don't fall into the trap of believing you'll come back to it someday. Start now, even in small doses, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Whatever it is, whether it's art, music, sports, storytelling, or something else entirely, it deserves a place in your life, because passion, more than anything else, makes life meaningful. And that's something you should never sacrifice. And those are the things you should never sacrifice for anyone: self-respect, your dreams, your time, your mental health, your boundaries, your financial independence, and your passion. These things define us, give meaning to our lives, and help us stay true to ourselves. It's easy to lose them in a world that's constantly trying to force us to compromise and fit into other people's expectations. But remember that self-respect, dreams, boundaries, and passion are non-negotiable. They are the foundation, the fuel, and the essence of what makes life worth living. So as you continue your journey, protect these parts of yourself fiercely. Stay true to who you are, honor what matters most, and never let anyone convince you to give up the things that are truly important. Life is too short to live by other people's rules. Take ownership of your values, prioritize what gives you energy, and make decisions that align with the person you want to become. You deserve to live a full life, a life that's true to your nature. Keep that in your heart and live your life to the fullest. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my sharing. If you feel like these things touched your heart, don't forget to press the like button so I know you are here. And if you want to continue this journey with me, press subscribe and share this video with your loved ones. Each of your support is the motivation for me to continue sharing more.